O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.
Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to the very last, sadly, Greg Lemon, the very last episode of the Quarantine Cast. You're here for the end, or maybe the beginning. We don't know. We're here for the last. We don't have Phil. Phil's off doing, who knows what he's doing. He's probably playing a video game or something. But we have Greg Lemon from Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Say hey, Greg.
Hey.
I had to call you, man, because a lot of people are nervous out there. I know we were just talking about, you said you're getting some notes about what's going to happen. But in the great state of Montana, some of the spring turkey season, spring seasons are getting ready to kick off. And I guess the first thing we have to know before we do anything, any jokes, anything, is like, where are you guys right now? Like, what from a departmental look at this? What's it feeling like on a daily basis?
Well, this is really new for us. Obviously, there's never been anything like this that we've gone through. So in the last couple of weeks, we've slowly sort of kind of curtailed operations, and that's really difficult for us this time of year. I think we're a lot like other fish and wildlife agencies. This is the off season from a hunting standpoint and fishing standpoint. I mean, there's a lot of fishing still going on, but this is the slowest time of year on that end of things, but it's our busiest time of year, or one of them on the customer service end of things. So the license year started March 1st. We ushered that in with a bunch of changes for us for licensing. And so we were working with the public on that. And then this hit. And so we've been just really working hard trying to answer questions from people, sell people licenses, get them applied for their tag, deer and elk tags for the coming year. And so we've been doing that as we've been shutting down some of our offices to the public and kind of curtailing our interactions with the public and other staff in accordance with the governor's directives on distancing and social interaction and all that.
Yeah, I think it's a strange time for everybody, and I've said this before on the show, but I made the mistake of thinking, well, hunting and fishing, being the kind of activities they are, could be somewhat immune to this. I mean, a little bit, have a little bit of a barrier or a buffer to affect, but it's not really been the case. I mean, we've talked about Nebraska shutting down non-resident turkey tags, and then also Washington State with their spring bear and youth turkey. Do you feel like, just from your perspective, this maybe not a departmental thing for FWP, but just from your perspective, do you think that's a snowballing effect? Will that cascade into other closures? How do you guys look at that, I guess?
Well, it's a good question because, we're not on an island, certainly in Montana, but even within the West on other state agencies. So, if non-resident hunters can't go, say, to Idaho, and I don't know what Idaho is doing, but why wouldn't they come to Montana? Why wouldn't they say, well, we can't turkey hunt in Idaho, but Montana can still do it. And so, that puts more pressure on us, which is great. I mean, we're at this point, we're not looking at closing any seasons or doing anything as it pertains to non-residents, limiting their opportunities or limiting hunting opportunities. But it does, we've got, we're also not on an island as it pertains to other land management agencies. So the BLM, the Forest Service have closed a lot of their sites. Just, the public lands are open, but, the bathrooms might be locked and the campgrounds are closed. And so we've had to, think about how we respond to that. So right now, campgrounds are closed. But the overnight camping's closed at FWP sites. Group use is closed, but and that we still have the day use stuff open, so people can come and fish. They can come and launch a boat. They can use a dock. They can hike. They can walk their dog. They can bird watch, just as long as they keep that sort of social distancing thing in mind. And that's really, really tough for people. I mean, I don't know what it's like in other states, but I bet you they're seeing what we're seeing in Montana, where on a nice sunny spring day, people are going out and they are recreating in the great outdoors, and they're just trying to find a way to make this crazy time seem more reasonable.
Yeah, no, we talked yesterday to Michael Hunsaker, who was traveling to Nebraska to turkey hunt right before they dropped the hammer on the non-resident tags. He just said this is a spot he's hunted a lot, and every year they rarely see anybody on some of the public lands that they hunt for turkeys. This year there was somebody at every single spot they went, and I think I've seen that too going outside. I've seen hiking trails. Most hiking trails aren't 6 feet wide, and most boat ramps are pretty tight quarters when you're trying to fishing access site. So it's like, there's a weird caution about it. It feels like that's what we should all be doing for our own personal sanity, and then just what can you do at this moment? So it just feels like a strange conundrum that we're all in, that we want to go outside, we should go outside, but it presents some interesting interactions for sure.
Yeah, the social... I just was thinking about this because I just took my life in my hands and went to the grocery store, and you've got... Everybody has this little personal space bubble, and now it's 6 feet in radius, I mean, and we were out on the trail with my family this weekend, 2 little kids, and big hike. And, like you said, people come pass on the trail, and everybody suddenly is getting off the trail, giving each other the space, or giving you, kind of looking at you a little funny, and you're looking at them a little funny. And it's not the same sort of experience that you're used to having. And I think turkey hunters, spring turkey and spring bear hunters, it's a very quiet time in the woods. It's not the busiest. Those aren't the 2 busiest hunting seasons by a long shot. And I think this year people are going to see a lot of those guys and women that go out and hunt spring and bear turkey are going to notice a lot more people out and about than they have in years past.
You have any thoughts about trailhead diplomacy in that regard? Because I know it's going to come up a lot, where you have a spot where you've turkey hunted every year, and you go out this year and there's 7 campsites full of people, or just more people hiking or running their dogs around. Have you thought about that? I've been thinking about that recently as kind of turkey season starts to approach us here.
Yeah, no, I have. We've thought about, trying to get some social media outreach or something to say this is going to be a unique season, and I think it's an opportunity for hunters, really. Spring turkey hunting it's such a great opportunity to expose people to the sport, to get people engaged in what hunting is. You guys have talked about it a lot, but you get the joy of calling, you get the joy of sort of being out and sneaking around in camo, you get a couple of tags to fill. You get a lot of these sort of the benefits of some of the other hunting pursuits all kind of mashed up into one. And so maybe this is an opportunity for hunters to, kind of extend the hand to folks that aren't hunters and talk and kind of purport themselves, ethically, and talk about the sport and share that with the people in the conversation at a trailhead or a fishing access site or, wherever they might be.
Yeah, no, it's just another way, as I said, there's so much confusion. I'm sure even for you and your job, so much confusion and lack of clarity, and just this is a slow moving tragedy. So just every day something else happens, and it just kind of feels like we're sitting on the Titanic, and it gets moving so slow. So fill that void with positivity rather than negativity. That's another good way to do it. Get outside and practice social distance, but also just show people that hunters are friendly and they're there to be safe, and something we've always talked about here. So I really like that. Do you, on your day-to-day workload side, is there questions you've seen the most? I will say that we're recording this on the 1st, but you'll hear it on the April 2nd. So if you haven't put in for your deer and elk applications, you're screwed. You should have done it yesterday.
That's right.
But so better luck, I guess, for the rest of us. But do you have any thoughts about just the day-to-day changes with your work and the work of your colleagues?
Yeah, we've a lot of the interaction we've had been on the customer service end of things, just people wanting to buy tags and wanting to know what they can do or can't do. And, the rumor mills, like with this, is just rampant, from everything about the disease to, what is and isn't open. And so we tell people, keep telling them that all of our sites are open. We're not doing the camping, we're not doing the group use, but you can go to a fishing access site, etc. And then we're getting a lot of questions about the licensing piece of it. And so, today is the last day for the deer and elk applications. But, even if you don't get an application in Montana with a general over-the-counter deer or elk tag, you can hunt in so many places around the state. So hopefully that doesn't deter people. Another unfortunate thing for us has been this is actually a really busy time of year for hunter education. And we've had to suspend some of those hunter education classes, and literally, even in Montana, thousands of kids that were scheduled to go through hunter ed in advance of the application deadline weren't able to do it.
Yeah.
And that's a casualty that we just can't really control. So we're trying to work through some contingency plans for that. That's been a big chunk of the day to day. And then, I was mentioned a little bit, we have some processes we do with bear, mountain lions, otter trapping in particular, but bear, mountain lion hunting, where hunters are required in statute to come and present those tags or those furs to us to get tagged and inspected. And it's been it's not that it's been looked at as sort of a kind of a cool opportunity for hunters to talk to biologists about what they saw, biologists to talk about hunters about their animal that they've harvested. But this year we're going to do something different, and just people are just going to have to call in to our we have a harvest reporting phone line that's on our website, and they'll have to call into that to report their harvest. That's one change it's an unfortunate change, because that interaction with hunters is really means a lot to our staff, and I have to think it means a lot to hunters to get that opportunity to just kind of revel in their harvest and get a little feedback.
I had that as a kid. I missed check-in stations for deer as a kid. That was always one of the best times, and we'll miss it this spring. But do you? I guess the where this all leads for us is like, what do you know or have in your mind what the threshold is for something to be canceled? What would have to happen, if you could guess, or like based on what you've seen? Would the governor have to present an edict? Would it be a game commission thing? How, if there were to be a decision to shut off non-resident hunters or shut down a season, is that something that could happen quickly, or is that a slow-moving process?
Well, I think it would happen quickly as a lot of the response to this has. Even it's, like you said, it's been a weird deal where it feels like it just develops a little bit every day. But when you sort of step back, some of those decisions have happened rather quickly. The decision the governor made to close down schools happened on a Sunday night, and Monday, kids weren't going to school, and that was a big deal. So something like you're talking about, if we were to shut down a hunting season or limit a hunting season in any way, that would probably be a governor decision. Yeah. And it's not been. I mean, we're aware of what's going on, but that hasn't been part of the conversation. In fact, I think Governor Bullock was pretty strong in his announcement of the sort of stay-at-home order. The exception was to get outside, and he's a hunter too, and so I think he had that in mind. And the ice is starting to come off at Canyon Ferry, and the rainbows are spawning, and people are out fishing. And there's just a lot of activity going on, even outside of just turkey and bear hunting. So,
for sure, yeah, I've heard fishing on the Gallatin is pretty good. Right now. So, well, Greg, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate answering those questions. I know everybody's, like I said, there's so much confusion out there. It's good to hear. Thank God you have given me great news about that I can get out. But I just went, and before the application, just bought every over-the-counter turkey tag I could get to force myself to get out and turkey hunt as much as possible and give those dollars back to the state. And hopefully, I can take my family with me and we can do it safely and we can do it outside. So I look forward to that, man. And I really appreciate you reaching out and giving people some updates. And anything you want to kind of close with from your end of things?
No, I just, not really. I mean, getting outside, it means a hell of a lot to me. And I know it does to a lot of, everybody that you're talking to. And so, just get out there and enjoy it. I mean, take the time to get out with your family and your kids. And, it might not be the ideal hunting situation, but it might be just the perfect opportunity to get your kids and your family exposed to a little turkey hunting or bear hunting and what that might mean. So there's a silver lining on this, and it's a little hard to see here and there, but it's there, and it's probably outside. So
I love it.
That's all I'd close with.
All right. Well, thank you, Greg. Now we're going to move on to my good friend, Sean DeGrey, who's the founder and operator of the Total Archery Challenge, and also was with me when I killed the biggest bull elk of my life in Utah on public lands a few years ago. So we're going to tell you that story, get an update from Sean, and move on with the Quarantine Cast. Enjoy. Sean DeGrey, what's up, man?
Just quarantining, if that's a word.
I know you don't drink, but I was thinking about creating a quarantini, like a martini, but just a more desperate version for quarantine. So just throwing that out there. Should anybody want to write in and suggest some recipes for a quarantini? I've been thinking hard on it.
Maybe a virgin one for someone like me.
Yeah. A version one for something like Sean. Well, Sean, you've never been on the show, which is sad. Unless I'm forgetting a time that you were, but I don't think either way it would be sad. You should definitely have been on here. People, everybody's ever been to the Total Archery Challenge, which if you haven't, shame on you, you bastard. Get out there and do it. Sean is the brains and the brawn behind THC. Are you not?
There's a few of us, but yeah, I get to point more fingers than others. But there's a team of us that make it happen.
That's true, and Total Archery Challenge is it's a family business basically, right?
Yeah, it is. It's my wife and I basically run it, and then we've got Monica's dad's heavily involved, some brother-in-laws, and then we do have a crew that travels with us that are now family. So I'm calling it a family business.
I love it, man. As much as I've hung around with you doing that, it really does feel like a family business. And you guys are just traveling the country, having fun, trying to beat the stress, trying to put on good events for people. And for those that have never been, give people a rundown where you guys are now. We'll talk about a little bit what the quarantine's done to some of the events, but just where it is now. The THC.
Yeah, so we have 9 events, 9 big mountain events, and we start in Texas. It was supposed to be in May 1st, actually. From there, we go to Tennessee to Vermont to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania to Michigan to South Dakota, Colorado, which is new this year, and then Colorado to Montana to Utah, which is going to be the end this year. End of the tour.
End of the tour. And you guys are selling these things. A couple of years ago, you started doing knock times in a little more organized fashion, so you could probably keep your sanity. But they sell out most of these events sell out pretty fast, don't they?
Yeah, so the Western ones for sure do. In the East, Michigan and Pennsylvania also sell out. But yeah, really outside of Tennessee, which is only a couple years into it, they're all selling out, which is really exciting. I mean, this is more than we ever thought it would be, so that's really fun to watch. And then we added Colorado this year, and Colorado also is pretty much sold out, so it's pretty exciting.
Well, and if you're like me or you or anybody that runs around in our circles, like all we think about is hunting, so the time you guys are running these events is the time that we're kind of sad puppies. We need something to do.
Yeah,
we need some competition, some way to kind of get us up, shooting our bows, getting in shape, and man, Total Archery Challenge is the way to do that. I love it. If I could, I'd travel with you guys and shoot every one. But so if you're not,
that'd be good.
If you've never done it, go do it. Total Archery Challenge. I'm sure it's like totalarcherychallenge.com if I'm guessing right. Go check it out. How's it all affected by? We were just chatting a little bit before we hit record about how everything's affected. But tell everybody kind of what's going on with your events.
So we've been kind of slow playing it just because, as you know, everything changes daily. But we're starting to get into where it's starting to affect the tour. Texas is up, and we're working with the venue there. They're closed down. We're trying to figure out potential other dates, because as of right now, we're going to follow CDC guidelines and local government guidelines on what they would require for events like ours. So April 30th is kind of the mark right now, which we're supposed to open May 1st for that Texas event. So Texas is going to change the date potentially, and we're working through that now. We don't know. And here in a couple of weeks, we'll make the decision on Tennessee and kind of follow that pattern. We don't want to make a tour decision. We're just going to do it event by event and see what we're able to do to try to salvage some of these events. Yeah,
and I'm sure it puts a strain on, just everything about your life and that business, and I'm assuming that's that gets more real by the day.
Yeah, it does. When we finally had to say, okay, Texas has to change or be canceled, I mean, then reality starts to set in. But that's part of the event world, I think, is knowing that this can happen and doing our best to prepare for it anyway on our end. And, we got to take care of our archers. We don't need to be stupid about this. We're going to do what is requested and required and make sure everybody stays healthy and happy. Well, maybe not happy, because I'm not happy that it's closed. And I know a lot of people who have been messaging us aren't happy that we're changing it, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we're at right now. We just had Greg Lemon on before you came on, talking about what's happening in Montana with hunting seasons. For now, for this moment as we're speaking, they're open. The spring seasons are open without restriction. It will be open in about 10 days without restriction in Montana, but other states are making a different choice, which is closing down fishing, limiting hunting, canceling seasons. Alaska just canceled some spring bear activities. Washington, Nebraska. So that's, I think, what's on all our minds now is just tracking the slow-moving creep of news, and it's almost always bad news. So it's hard to get away from, and hard to work around when there's so much unknown. So hopefully,
one day at a time. Yeah,
and hopefully you guys can certainly come out of it and put on a bunch of cool events when when it's July and late June and even into early June when we're all back and up and running to some level. And, you can still social distance at THC, right? I mean, you can tell our challenges can be a social distancing event.
We tell all our groups no more than 5 at a time. You're outside, you're shooting your bows, small groups of people. I think to some degree it's nothing like an indoor concert or being inside a sports arena, something like that. So, but at the same time, we need to be smart about what we do. I mean, really, in the end, it's venues are closed anyway. So even if we wanted to do it, we couldn't.
Yeah, that's how we are with our Meat Eater Live tour. It's like, well, we'd love to go. We probably wouldn't anyway, but no option if there's no place to host us.
Exactly.
Big deal. How you guys, I know you got a bunch of kiddos at home and your wife, and how you guys handling the quarantine and like what's your approach every day?
So it's homework is the first thing they get to do when they wake up. And our kids love to play, probably like a lot, the game like PS4 or whatever it is. Typically we don't let them play during the week, but we've decided that now if they get their homework done and then they have their chores they do around the house to keep it clean, and then we instituted an exercise program that if they want to play the PS4 for the day, they either have to run 3 miles or do one of these workouts. I don't know, it's either P90X or something. And they've been pretty vigilant about it. So, and it's helped a lot. It's worked out some of the bugs and made them not as crazy in the house. And we've been doing that for about 10 days now. And they're all doing it, even the 9-year-old. I mapped out laps around the house to see how many laps it would take for him to do 3 miles. And in case he doesn't want to go long and he's got to stay close to home. So but they're doing it. So exercise. And if they fight, then they can hang out in their rooms. I usually go to the shop because I'm still getting everything ready as if we're going to leave, so that when that window opens so we can go on tour, we're ready. We're not scrambling.
Yeah. No, same here. But I feel like you're winning at the parenting game. Your kids are running laps around the houses for
they are. And it is so funny to watch. But I mean, I'm not a fan of PS4 or whatever, but it does help that locks them away because we're all sitting here working, and they're getting some exercise in more than they have been.
The required motivation, that's fine. Whatever it takes, whatever the carrot is, man, it's fine. It should be fine with me.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it, dude. Yep. I love it. Well, we got to tell we got to tell good, man. I'll tell you, this is the 15th and final, actually, quarantine cast that we're going to do. And everybody I've talked to is okay. I know that's not emblematic of everybody. There's a lot of people struggling on a lot of levels, and we feel for you. But I am happy, and hopefully everyone out there, and even yourself, it's not so widespread now that it's touched everybody.
Right.
Directly. So I'm happy for that. I'm happy to hear that everybody that we've talked to thus far is doing okay. And so hope that provides everybody a little bit of peace of mind that it can be good during this time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight.
Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
But we got to tell a hunting story, man. We got to tell. This may be one of my, now I'm going to say it. It's my favorite hunting story for a bunch of different reasons. One, it's kind of connected to the birth of my son, James.
Right.
We got to start, the best place to start is where I got the tag, because it is for sure once in a lifetime tag. If you've ever been to the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo in Salt Lake City, happens every year in February. I used to go there for work when I worked at Yeti, and each year I would happily put $500, $600, $700, whatever the number is, to apply for 200 lottery tags that are only available at that show. So you have decent odds, but still not great odds, of drawing a tag. So I would do that every year, kind of ceremonially and without much luck. But in 2017, when we did this, 2016 actually, when I put in, I didn't even bother, I don't think, to check the draw results. So I'm like, I'm not going to win anything. I got a couple of text messages with the screen capture saying, "Is this your name? Is this you? Ben O'Brien, Austin, Texas?" I'm like, that's me. So I looked at what I drew. I'm like, holy crap. I drew a late season bull tag in Utah. And then I'm looking now, there's one tag, and the year that I applied, 2,065 people applied for that tag. So it was a 1 in 2,065 chance, which I was telling you earlier, Sean, if that was a horse, I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, you're a conservative man.
That's right. If they said, "Hey, there you are," I'm like, I'll hold off. I'm more of a 5-to-1 guy. So I drew this tag, man, and it was amazing to know that I drew this tag, and then not too long after that to find out that I was having my first child. And then somewhere, when the fall came around, I realized that the tag, it's a late season rifle tag. The dates of the tag were for about a month-ish, a little bit over a month after my son was born. And I immediately thought, well, I probably won't be able to go. At the very least, I had planned to go scout a bunch and find some bulls and spend some time in this country well before the season. I at least knew I wasn't going to be able to do that. And that's kind of where the great and powerful Sean DeGrey comes in, my angel in the outfield. That's probably not the right term.
Yeah. Well, I got lucky, that's for sure.
And I don't know when we were talking about this or how it came up, but you basically, I was probably just desperately calling everyone in Utah, trying to get some intel on the area. And I must ask you, like, hey, you know anything about this joint? And being the guy that you are, we weren't like lifelong friends, just kind of business acquaintances at that point. You just said, I'll go down and check it out for you. And I thought, well, son of a bitch, that's nice. And you did, so you could take it from there, but you did much more than that.
Yeah, so I didn't know the unit really at all except where it was. And so I reached out to a couple of different guys and said, hey, where should I be looking? And they're like, we don't really hunt that unit. I said, well, you shed hunt it. Tell me where you're finding sheds, because it's getting pretty late in the year. And they actually weren't very forthcoming with information. But one guy did tell me, hey, there's this valley or whatever. And so he gave us a stretch of, I don't know, we had, what was that, 20 miles long by 5 miles wide of
easy.
And yeah, he's just like, maybe go look there. So that's what I did. I just drove down there, and no lie, as soon as I pulled into that valley where I could actually glass from the truck, I just started glassing and found what I think might be the bull that you ended up getting.
Yeah.
I did find 2 really nice bulls in there, and it was lucky. We're only 2 hours from my house where you're hunting. And so I got to go down there a couple times and saw those 2, what I considered to be, well, you and I were thinking 340 plus would be awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And those were the 2 bulls that I thought would break that 340 mark on top of all the elk. And the beauty behind it all was I didn't see one person.
Yeah, that was the craziest part.
I couldn't imagine. Yeah,
that was the craziest part. We'll tell a story of the guy that we met in the restaurant later. The sad story of the guy.
He was the guy he flew in from Alaska, right? Is he the guy that?
He turned. Remember, he was a lawyer, and he turned down the job as a partner in Alaska because he would have become an Alaska resident, and he couldn't hunt this tag because he was.
That's right.
He was applying for it. I think a 12 to 15 point tag. I mean, it's a decade or more to get this tag.
Oh yeah, it was great. On one of my trips up there, Glass and I decided to get up on top of the mountain there on the Penguich, and I ran into a couple that had been scouting up there. Her name's Melissa, I believe. Melissa Butler, maybe? Anyway, she and her husband were awesome. They gave me a whole bunch of information. They lived right there close. They were up on the mountain all summer long scouting, and they had found multiple big bulls. But they also informed me that so did every outfitter that was up there was also chasing these bulls. That's the focus, there was 3 or 4 giants.
Yeah.
And they showed us a bunch of pictures of the bulls they're chasing, and one of them was a monster, broke 400 inches. But I think if I remember right, I gave you a call. I said, hey, look, there are some big bulls up in this area, but we'd be chasing them with everybody else. And we kind of decided, hey, we're not into that.
Yeah.
We want to go have a good hunt.
I'm so glad we did that too. Cause when I drove up from Texas, and I remember being like a 14 hour drive or so. And I had a lot of time to think about that, and as a new dad, I was really hesitant to leave my wife and son. But my wife, to her credit, was insistent that if I really wanted to do it, that I go do it and not worry about it. Like, she would be okay.
Right.
And that if I was going to go, I needed to go and kick ass. Like, don't go and be sad about it. Just go and do the job, and come back with a bunch of elk meat for us. That was kind of the way that she approached it with me. And I don't think I would have gone if it wasn't for that. Because when I was leaving, I was emotional. I didn't know what to do. I was, you got a little human there that's a month old that you have no idea how to take care of it, or how to take care of your wife, or how to set the situation up for success. You're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants at that point. But luckily, she was cool enough to kind of say, just go and do it, and don't come home empty-handed. Yeah, you asshole.
If you're gonna do it, you better not come home empty-handed.
Yeah, you better go. So that was the real pressure for me. And so I think part of it was like, hey, I just want to kill a bull. I want to, I drew this tag. I was lucky enough to do it. People wait their whole lives to do this, and I was lucky enough to draw this tag. And I don't want to waste it or burn it. And I also don't want to half-ass the hunt. I really wanted to put as much in as we possibly could and get a nice bull. I was not interested in, and would never be interested in, elbow rooming a bunch of high-priced outfitters to kill one of, what were giant bulls I just figured, there's a lot of guys who live for that. Let them have that.
Yep.
And that it was such a fortuitous thing too, because like you said, the valley that we were in, did we see another hunter the entire time we were there?
We did not. We saw one truck in 5 or 6 days we were there, and that guy was one of the farmers up in that country.
Yeah, I mean there was road systems. They weren't, they were, national forest roads. They weren't the best, but you could pretty much drive to wherever you needed to be. And so we worked a lot of country without seeing anybody. So I would much prefer, I don't know how most people think of it or how you think of it, I would much prefer that scenario, shave 30, 40 inches off the bull that I would ultimately kill for, what is essentially you and me hanging out in a wall tent with a place to ourselves.
And a pink lamp.
Yeah. And a pink lamp. So yeah, we start from the beginning. I show up and you have already, to my delight, you have already kind of have everything out and ready to go. We drove into that valley where you'd spotted some bulls, pulled off to kind of the southeastern rim and put up a wall tent and made camp and I intended to be there for the whole season if I had to get a good bull. But we'll fast forward to where we actually shot the elk that we ended up with, but it wasn't too far from where we put the wall tent.
No, if I remember right, did we not find it right from just off the road from the wall tent?
Yeah, we did. Absolutely. Absolutely. I spotted, he was such a big bull, I just spotted like his tops, and that's all we could see until we got up there close to him. But
from the time you spotted him to, from the time you saw him to him disappearing was a minute and change, maybe.
Yeah. And it was one of those deals where I just said, Sean, that was a big bull. And I we'll go through the whole story, but at that point, I feel bad. I feel bad because I remember when I shot this bull, I remember you saying, I remember me being like a little bit disappointed when I walked up on it, or like just kind of a little bit confused because we had seen so many good bulls, whether this was the right one to shoot. And you said, man, I'm sorry if this is not the one, and then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, look at this thing. What the hell is wrong with me? This is a giant. Yeah. And to this day, I look at
giant.
And to this day, I look at that bull and I'm like, what was, I feel remorse for that moment where I didn't appreciate it immediately. But I guess we could try to get to why that was. But I do feel I would have straight up apologized to you for not saying like, dude, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened. It took some time to sink in, but boy, did it sink in.
Well, he's also, when you walk up on him, he's a little bit of a deceiving bull.
Yeah, a little bit.
Until you lift up and really stand back, he's for me, he's a giant.
Oh, like I said, for an East Coast kid who, to that point, had killed 2 elk and never anything over like a 310. And really, for me as a kid, if you had started naming numbers, I'm like, I'll take a 5 or a 6. I don't give a shit. I don't really care, man.
Yeah.
What do I care? So anyway, when we got there, we set up our wall tent. We got that all going, and I'll let you tell the story of the pink light because I got a few photos I'll share of the pink light.
Do you have this? Do you happen to have the one with all the snow too?
Oh yeah.
Because if not, I'll need to send that to you.
Yeah, I got that. But
anyway,
one too.
so we set up this wall tent, and it was pretty roomy. I thought we had the cots and everything, but we were lacking the light. We needed some light, so we drove into town. What was that? Day 2, I think, wasn't it?
Day 2, yeah.
We drove into town and went light shopping to see what we could find to plug into the generator. And the best thing we could find was a little teeny desktop light that was pink.
Yeah, for like a 10-year-old girl's room.
Yeah, but it did work, and it worked well.
It worked very well.
The light we needed. We had to improvise on a few things, like how we wanted to cook. because we cooked on the jet boil, so we used some Yeti cups to hold the pan up above the jet boil
burner.
So we could use the pan to cook. And oh my God, that was hilarious.
Dude, that it was like a couple of homeless guys under a bridge. Just figured out.
Not quite. That house, that
thing
was
is
a pretty nice house. Short of the leak, it did have a leak whenever the wind blew and the snow was falling.
I got a few flap shots to the chest while I was sleeping a couple times.
One of my favorite photos is, I don't even know what date. Actually,
the last day after we killed the bull.
It might have been, that night it snowed a lot. What was that, 6 or so inches?
Easy.
And there was, between the floor and the wall, there was a hole where the snow was blowing up in. And I woke up that morning and looked over, and you're bundled up, still asleep, and you are just covered in snow.
I remember I tried a couple of times, because this is after we killed the bull a couple hours before dark, cut him up, and our buddy Spencer Brat was there, and he's a horse of a human, and he helped us pack. We packed about half the bull out that night, and then finally and then it was wiped out by the time we got back. Cooked a little, did we cut up the heart and cook the heart?
Yeah, we cooked the heart, yep.
And then in our little makeshift burner stove with 2 Yeti cups. And then I, pass out. And I woke up an hour later. I'm like, I think I'm covered in snow. Like, my whole head is covered in snow. And at that point, you have a decision to make. You're like, I could get up and try to help fix this situation, which it didn't look fixable. Or I could just kind of like slink down in my sleeping bag a little bit more and just ignore that this ever happened and go back to sleep. So that's what I did. Because it was like 2 in the
for a great photo.
It was 2 in the morning or so until we went to bed after we got everything done.
Right.
I remember. Yep. And so you get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to sleep, and I'll wake up and I'm gonna let Jesus take the wheel. I'm going to sleep. It'll be fun. But we had to hike back up and get the rest of the last couple quarters and stuff with. Man, that was a great day too. We're skipping most of the hunt.
Oh yeah,
that was a great day too. I remember just feeling so freaking good that day. But anyway,
it was good. There's a lot of cool things. I mean, that one, if you remember, we spotted a bull from all the way on the other side of the valley, and we charged in on it. I think we ran. Well, there were 2 different instances. The one time we got across and we got into a couple bulls, and you passed on one that was, how far was that bull? That one that jumped up and just stood up and stared at us.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what do you think? I'm like, man, I don't think he's there. You're like, well, I don't want him. And we're like, okay, keep going. We take off running again.
Well, and that one bull we ran up to was there was 2 bulls, and they were on like a little chunk of private that was just like set down in the valley. I remember.
Yep.
And we got up to them and could have made a shot, but they're just standing just on the one little corner of private that's in the valley. And it was a bull. And I don't know what you think, that one of those 2 bulls might have been the one I ended up shooting.
I think so. I do think that.
Yeah.
Because he's he's a pretty unique bull. The bull you got is not a normal, that you would mistake it for another 6-point. Like, he's very unique how he's
the one thing that I remember, I mean, the mass, obviously, but the one thing I remember, his giant thirds. Like, his thirds are like 23 inches long. I can't remember particularly, but they're like little baseball bats, just massive and pronounced. So, I remember we spent, a couple of days, probably 3 days, having a great time. We'd go into town for lunch and jack around every day. And we weren't
do a little bit of work. Yeah. We weren't being leisurely about it, but it was like such a great scenario. We had all this country to ourselves. There was bulls everywhere. You just kind of felt like if you stayed on it long enough, you were going to get it done. And you could be picky, which I normally wouldn't be. And you could just kind of wade through it. Because there was a lot of elk. We didn't see a whole ton of cows. We saw just big bulls everywhere walking around. Right.
I don't know how many bulls did we see before we... a dozen really good bulls before we got on mine.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
But maybe the best story is one day, you and I were eating lunch. You and I and Spencer, I think Spencer might have been with us. We're eating lunch at this little diner in Panguitch, Utah. Panguitch. I always say it wrong.
Panguitch.
Panguitch. And this was like all the hunters were in here. And so you got to think of it this way too. Here I am, a young whippersnapper who has applied for this tag all of once in his life. Sitting there dressed all in my hunting gear. And then you got all these other older gentlemen who have been putting in for this tag since they were little boys. And so you can imagine there being a little bit of angst and anger when people found out how I came to be there and have a tag in my pocket. You probably have a better recollection of me. The guy that we met that was from Utah, he was a lawyer, like we said earlier, and he was going to take a partner. He was going to become a partner in a law firm in Alaska, I think Anchorage, but he turned it down because he wanted to hunt this tag.
Right, and he had hired a guide too.
Yeah, he hired a guide. He put all this time and money. So I've been thinking about this for months. He was one of the guys who was so prickly with me because, I said, I just put in for this and a $5 lottery ticket, basically.
Right.
And he was just prickly with me the whole time. And he had a million pictures of bulls on his phone. And he was chasing these particular elk. And it was like the thing for him. He had invested so much in this. And do you remember kind of where he was in his hunt the time we talked to him?
Well, at that point, they had been sitting on that big bull, the giant. Yeah. The way I remember it is he opened the conversation I got screwed.
Yeah.
And he was so upset, and we're like, what? How? What happened? And that's when he proceeded to tell the story of how they'd been on this bull for a couple of days, 3 or 4 days, I can't remember. And they're watching it. They know it's in there. They're waiting for it to get out of its bed. And when it had got up, somebody had shot. And he watched the bull get taken down.
Yeah. Yep.
And he just couldn't believe it. He was so upset. He said the people that had to have shot it must have taken a 700-yard shot because they were sitting right above it, and they watched him die. And that's where they had spent all their time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He was so upset.
He was so upset. I just felt, and I'm sitting there eating my egg sandwich, yeah, man, we're just hanging out in a wall tent. Just got here a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And you gotta feel.
I think we played it down too. Have you guys seen any bulls? We're like, oh, nothing really.
Yeah, we're really struggling down there. It's not like we've been here for 2 days and have seen, half a dozen 340 plus elk. Or anything like that. Dang it.
He was pretty upset. Upset. And then that same time is when I got that text from that gal, Melissa, that they had killed it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the funny part. The folks you had met up there, I always tell this story. I'm like, you met them. And Melissa, from what I remember, had been telling you she was practicing long-range shooting. Yes. Yep. This is my favorite story. I tell this story all the time. She had been practicing long-range shooting and was really proficient out to 1,000 yards, and that's kind of was her plan. And you had told me that story, and then he starts telling the story hey, we're right up on this bull, and then from far away, this lady shoots it. I remember looking at you no way, man. There's no way that this lady just shot this bull right out from under the sky. I felt so bad.
The biggest bull on the mountain. And they were saying there was her plus 3 other outfitters trying to kill that very bull.
And she was
just surrounded.
She wasn't some hardcore hunter like he was. She was just a local who just really liked elk hunting. She loves to get out. And, Yep. She wasn't some hardcore trophy hunter. She just found a big bull and shot it. It happened to be all these other dudes were obsessing over this elk for all this time. And she just comes in probably real casually, do. Oh, there's one. Boom. And
that's so funny.
Ruins their lives. Yeah. And meanwhile, You and I are down there prancing around in like no man's land where all these like
we had 100,000 acres to ourselves.
I know. And we're hanging out like there's bulls everywhere. And for a guy like me or even you or anybody, that would have been a dream hunt. The elk that we saw. It just happened to be that everybody that had scouted this place knew that there was up above us on a basin was, you know, a bunch of really big bulls in a certain area. So everybody that had a tag, which wasn't that many people, was up there chasing the same 3 elk, and we just lucked into what a freaking great hunt, man.
Yeah, we did. the fact that we found a bull of that caliber, and literally I think, what did I tell you? I had 2.5 days of scouting.
Yeah.
That I drove down, scout morning, evening for 2.5 days between 2 different trips. And that bull is crazy. It was meant to be.
Meant to be. Yeah, no, for a lot of reasons. And, you know, to tie off our lawyer buddies thing, I know you got his either Instagram or his number or something, and it didn't end up getting an elk.
No, he didn't. That's right.
Because I
forgot about that.
Because I remember him contacting you or me or someone and asking, like, how'd you guys do? And we sent him a picture of my bull, and he probably just didn't leave the house for weeks. Like, this little bastard, $5 lottery tag, just walked into the Dixie National Forest and put up a tent and killed this giant. And here I am spending my life, savings and all this time, and I came up empty. I guess them's the breaks, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, and that's, I think, a credit to you, too, saying, hey, you know, I know there's bigger bulls up there, but I don't want to go after them.
Yeah.
Let's just focus on these that we found. Because I don't think either of us, because I had video, I'm pretty sure I have video of that bull you killed, having no idea it was as big as it was, just that it would break the 340 mark.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that instead.
Let's do that. Yeah, I remember the video you sent me. And it was right across the ridge from where we killed him.
Yeah,
not too far.
It was.
Up north, just north from, probably a quarter of a mile north from where we shot him.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
You know, you think back on these stories, and like I said, this quarantine cast, this is the last one, but that, like, just telling stories, rethinking of these things kind of in the moment that we're in right now, where, you know, we have a lot of time to reflect, not a lot of time to do much, a lot of time to reflect on what we've done.
Right.
This is the most serendipitous hunt I've ever been on, because you were so gracious. You know, I find that people from Utah are just nice people. Like the nicest people that there are. Like you certainly didn't have to go spend all this time helping me out. It's not like you were an outfitter of mine. It's not like you were a buddy of mine for decades. Like, you just were being a nice guy and helping out and doing what I think you do all the time. And so
I think a lot of guys, really, it was an opportunity too, though, for me to go down and have enough for me. So I've done a lot of guiding. In fact, that's where I did most of my hunting when I was younger, was guiding. And I find a lot of pleasure in just being there, present, going through the whole motion of the hunt, you know, short of pulling the trigger. And I mean, that was another opportunity to do it. So
yeah,
anytime I get an opportunity to get out and my wife says, yeah, that's okay, then I want to take it.
Well,
I want to try to do it.
Appreciate it, my end, man. We had a great time, and yeah, at some point we'll have you back. You can tell all your Alaska Outfitter stories, because you got a lot of them. A lot of plain stories.
There was some good times. I'll tell you, one of the I don't know if you remember this, but we'd found the bull, and this is the day you killed it. And he had gone in, and we decided, hey, look, because we watched it for another 45 minutes or so, this little shelf, and they never came out. There were actually two bulls.
Yep.
And so after watching it, we're like, hey, let's just go back, we get some lunch, and then we're going to hike up there, because they're bedded there on that shelf. It's perfect. And we devised some plan to hike in, pop over this little rock peak to look down on this shelf. And if you remember, I poked my head over, and then I just grabbed your arm and I squeezed you, because they had just stepped out of the trees as we popped over the ridge. I'm like, he's right there.
Yeah,
like, get ready.
I love it, because I'm there, like, I'm standing on this like shale rock that has no like on a knife ridge with really no footing, and you start grabbing me, like trying to pull me. Yeah, he's there, and I just remember, like, calm down, dude, I'm gonna fall off this mountain, man. Like, I'll get set up. I'll get set up.
They had no idea too, so it was perfect.
Yeah, we were fine. It was like 175, 200-yard shot, something like that.
Yeah, and the wind was blowing a bit. And
the wind was whipping pretty good, and I had know where we were. You kind of on this knife ridge, you know, because we had spotted him from camp. We drove around on this national forest road that we traveled on a ton. Got in behind him, got the wind right, glass, make sure there's no other elk to blow us out. Then moved in right where we thought, you know, a lot of times you get in that country, you're like, well, we pop over here, we'll have a good shot. You pop up over there, and you don't have a good shot. Like, it's covered up, or you got to move around the canyon or whatever. In this case, it was perfect. I mean, we popped up, and he was right there with another bull standing kind of in the trees. And I just remember, like, fumbling around, getting my gun out, dropping a bunch of ammo on the ground.
Yep.
Fumbling, trying to get loaded up, making all kind of noise.
Just to get set.
Yeah.
If I remember right, it took a minute to even get set up, because that knife ridge was so unstable.
I tried to lay down and slid down the hill about 10 feet, and then I climbed back up the hill and decided I got to shoot it off my pack. I got to sit, I do a seated position, put my pack up, and then put my rifle on it, which, if anybody's ever done that, is not fun, especially when the wind's blowing, you're kind of teetering on a knife ridge. Like, it was not, it was maybe the worst shooting position I've ever taken. But, you know, I'm thinking, I'm nervous, man. Like the wind's whipping. All that wind has to do is change one time.
Yeah.
And that bull, he had plenty of escape routes to get out of there. He was kind of in this little kind of crazy cliffed out meadow. And there's a grove of trees. Kind of a perfect place for a bull to be. He just feels secluded. But he was good, man. And I ripped off the first shot. I think I hit him on the first shot.
You did, yeah.
But if
Hard.
anybody knows me, knows that I keep shooting until there's no cause to shoot anymore. And I don't know how many shots I ripped off. 4 of them, at least.
Yeah.
4 shots. I hit him a couple of times, but still wasn't sure. I mean, I knew I heard him. We didn't see him run or didn't hear him do anything. So, I kind of knew. I was confident. But still, we didn't see him fall and didn't really know. So you and I kind of cautiously worked our way down and around. And he was in this little grove of was he in lodgepole pines or were the aspens that he was in?
No, it was those. I think it was down in the junipers.
Oh,
if
okay.
I remember right.
Yeah, a big thick patch of timber.
Really thick.
Like you had to crawl in to get in there. And the worry was if he was wounded, you start crawling in there, he gets up and starts to bust out of there. Somebody's gonna get trampled here. And so
Right.
we were pretty cautious going in there, but like I said, I ended up working around the other way from you and walked in on this bull, and he was stone dead. And my first reaction was, man, that's a nice bull, but I'm not sure that's the one. And like I said, I feel bad about that now, but as soon as I picked up both his main beams and tried to turn his head over to hold him up, I realized his entire rack was as tall as I am and as wider than I am. And it was amazing, man. An amazing feeling for, like I said, from a kid from East Coast that always kind of dreamed about killing an elk, not even a big elk, to be able to do that was absolutely wild.
Yeah, he's a stud, man. I know when I walked up, I was pretty excited about it, but you had already had his head up because you had beat me to it. You're like, he's right here.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like I said, I think back on that, there's moments where I wasn't fully realizing what was going on, but then when I did, it was great, man. I remember my tradition is always to call my dad after something like that happens. Every time I kill an animal, I call my dad and tell him the story right off. And called my dad, and our buddy Spencer came in and helped us cut them up and packed them out. And the ensuing snowstorm the next day, or that night.
Right. Spencer's timing was impeccable. He showed up, and the next day we shot the bull and packed it out.
Yeah, he showed up and helped us glass for one day, and then boom, was in there to help us pack it out. And then back, was gone the next day. But yeah, I mean, you and I went back in there the next day to get the rest of, I think we had 2 hindquarters maybe, and some other meat we had hung up in some of those junipers. And I don't know what it was. Like the air was crisp. There was fresh snow on the ground. I had realized kind of the success that we'd had. Like at that point, I was starting to realize how, fortuitous all of this was. That was one of the best days I ever had outside. And we didn't do anything but hike up and get that bull and come back. That's all we did. I remember slipping and sliding down all these hills, and I had hurt my knee the day before.
You may have these, but there's some pretty cool pictures. If I remember right, there's one of you resting. Yeah. We were sitting there. We'd gone halfway down the hill towards camp. Because didn't we hike straight out one time? We didn't go back. We just decided to bomb straight off the mountain. Yeah,
we just hiked straight up and straight back. Because we had gone around to get a good wind, but we just hiked straight up from camp, which was gnarly. It was slippery. There was a lot of ice that day. Let me see.
It was fun. I loved it.
I'm gonna look at my phone and see what I got in here because I saved all those photos in my phone from that year. But it was, man. That was a great day. Like I had hurt my knee the day before packing the bull out.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a picture of our lamp. What a giant!
You gotta love the lamp. I love the lamp. As a matter of fact, I think I kept the lamp. I have it. I think
you have it still.
I'm gonna have to go look in the shop.
It's cool. That's it. What I have in my phone is a lot of pictures of the bull, but also just pictures of my little kid. Interspersed with my son, who's now 3.5, interspersed with all these pictures of this big elk. So I mean, it's a cool,
that's awesome.
A cool intertwined memory for me. But yeah, man, what a giant elk! Jesus, look at this thing. I'll have to post some photos of it, but nonetheless, man, like I said, one of the better days I've ever had outside. packing the rest of that meat down, and then I after our snowy day, I headed out the next morning, and for the 14-hour drive back, I felt like I was on the Big Bull Tour of America. Every gas station I stopped at, I had 14 dudes come over. Where'd you kill that bull, man? So I must have told that story 1,000 times after that. So I enjoyed the trip home. I had a Yeti 210 full of every sliver of meat you could possibly get in there. And
I remember we were trying to figure out is this going to hold it? And we decided, yes, it will.
Oh, yes, it will. Yeah. And I made the triumphant return home to my stressed out wife and my little baby. I was like, look, I got meat.
And you brought her the meat and kicked some ass.
Yeah, it's like a real caveman activity.
Yeah, you just didn't use the club.
I didn't. No, a different club. I think that was a Weatherby club that I used.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah,
I think it was. But yeah, man, it was. It's good to hold this story till last for our daily show because, like I said, there's so much. It's my favorite story for all the reasons we already said, but there's just so much that happens within hunting, especially now, like I said earlier, that we can sit back and just tell hunting stories and look forward to the hunting stories we're going to create in the future. That stories like this that are kind of intertwined with important moments in our lives personally, for me, the birth of my son is it's fun. It's fun to know like the power of those memories. Because this is one of the hunts. There's a lot of hunts I've gone on where I don't really remember all the details. This one I can remember the details like nothing. Even the little details. I can remember what the Alaska lawyer looked like and like what he was wearing.
Yeah, he was young. He seemed young for a lawyer too. I remember that.
Yeah, he's wearing like late 30s.
Yeah, probably.
I think he just looked like he hadn't slept in weeks at that point when we ran into it.
He was I just remember him being so upset. And
I know. Well, shout out
I laugh about it, but that not because I'm laughing at him, just at how emotional it can be for someone. And then on our end, we're just having a great time.
Just in there having a sandwich, talking about our strategy. Going to go back to our pink lamp. Pink lamp and have some Mountain House. Yeah, that was a good hunt, man. Appreciate you reliving it with me. I would love to draw that tag again, although I probably never will.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. I put in, I never draw it either. So, for the Western hunt tags.
Well, I obviously owe you. So if you draw one, I'll be there. I'll set up a wall tent.
You can come up and help me pack it out.
You bring the pink lamp. I'll bring the wall tent.
Perfect. I've got it. I'm almost positive. If I find it, I'm going to send it to you.
Send it to me. Yeah. I'd like you to sign it and date it and send it to me. If you don't mind.
I will. That's perfect.
All right, brother. So, thanks for joining us. Man. Be well over there. Yep. Stay safe.
You too. We'll see you.
Bye. That's it. That's all. Episode 15 of the Quarantine Cast is over, and thus ends the 3-week run of our Quarantine Cast. You might ask why that we're not going to continue to do this every day. Part of it is that we want to continue bringing good content, and the more we do this every day, the more that kind of stretches things out. But we just want to get back to our regularly scheduled show so we can bring you more content elsewhere. So check in the MeatEater.com, check in the MeatEater YouTube, check in all the MeatEater social sites, and follow me at BennyOB301 for more fun stuff throughout our quarantine, however long that lasts. And before we go, I just wanted to kind of put some things in perspective from my end. I had some notes written, but I threw them out because I just want to kind of speak from the heart in a time like this and share some of my perspective. I would say that this, as I said earlier, is a slow-moving tragedy. It just seems to get tougher every day, of course, until the point where it isn't tougher anymore, and we start to flatten the curve and get down out of this. But I can't imagine that this won't change how we act and who we are for a very long time to come. It will change our society, I think, change our culture for sure. But in the short term, where we are now in this moment, we have to be even-minded. That has to be one of our virtues, you know. Always just keep in mind that, you know, like fear and anxiety are prevalent. I feel them. I know what it's like to kind of wake up in the middle of the night and not know what the next day might hold, or fear for your loved ones, wherever they may be, or whether they're in quarantine with you or quarantine somewhere else. I know that feeling. It's not fun. But I think just keep in mind, the more that we value things that are outside of our control, the less we control what we have. That's a famous quote from somebody else. So don't think I made that up. All of our future is uncertain. Every day we trick ourselves into thinking that kind of the structure of society and the way we have put our lives together gives us some certainty, some control, but it doesn't really. We really don't. So embrace that now and find things that make you happy. Embrace your loved ones. Control the things you can control within your own quarantined life. That's what I'm going to do. And as I said, this is probably going to get worse before it gets better. I turned to positivity to fill the void of confusion, the void of just the unknown. So I'm going to turn to positivity, and I'm going to lift everybody up around me and hopefully continue to entertain you guys and lift you up through THC. So thanks to every single person that joined us over this as guests over this 15 episode run. Thank you to Phil the engineer, Corinne the producer. Thanks to everybody at Meat Eater for helping us put this together. Have a safe and happy weekend, and we will see you for the regularly scheduled THC on Tuesday. Bye.
The Hunting Collective with Ben O'Brien is a part of the Meat Eater Podcast Network. It is produced by Corinne Schneider and engineered by Phil Taylor. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, themeateater.com, or anywhere podcasts are downloadable. Wherever you listen, leave a 5-star review and subscribe.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.